the Let's Talk Leadership podcast. My name's Elly Greening.
And my name's Sandra Stewart.
On this podcast, we will be interviewing some of the UK's greatest tech leaders. We'll be discussing war stories, battle scars, and their learnings from their journeys.
Hopefully, you will pick up some great tips, learn from others' experiences, and have a good laugh along the way.
Hi everyone, thank you very much for tuning in to Let's Talk Leadership. We're really pleased today because we've got the amazing Andy Burton on. Hello Andy, how are you? You alright?
Hi there, yeah, I'm great, thanks.
So lovely to have Andy on. Andy is the CTO at The Very Group, who are the UK's biggest integrated digital retailer. And as part of the group, there's so many different aspects, isn't there, with Very?
Yeah, there is. I mean, it's a really interesting story. It's a company that's been around 100 years. And it's really transformed itself over the last 10, 15 years. So, a lot of people might remember Littlewoods department stores and the catalogues, like my mum used to have a Kay's catalogue and a Graham's catalogue and all those. So that was all these businesses we brought together. We've taken it online, before my time, wasn't me, but we've taken it all online. So it's a pure play online retailer now. But it's FS backed, so a lot of our customers use buy now, pay later, interest-free credit to spread the payment for the products.
Amazing, fantastic. So it'd be fantastic then if we could start the podcast today by finding a little bit about your current role and what you're doing at Very at the moment.
Yeah, so I'm Chief Technology Officer. So big company, kind of 2 billion quid revenue, 5 million customers nearly in the UK and Ireland. Big online retailer, so 90% of sales are done through mobile. And we sell everything, an online department store, multi-category, so from fashion to beauty to electrical, etc., household. So there's a lot of really I've been there 9 months now. A lot of really interesting things that I'm learning as I go. So the whole supply chain, we were just talking a moment ago about coronavirus and the difficulty of getting physical goods out of China into the UK. So we've got the whole supply chain. We've got logistics and fulfillment centres and technology behind that. So some really cool stuff going on there. Automated warehouses, and then of course the front end, the stuff that customers use. So the mobile app, the whole customer experience, digital customer experience. So technology across all of that. We're going through a big transformation to really get a lot more digital on the inside. So, we are a pure online operator, but some of the back office stuff and some of the ways of working, we're transforming that to go a lot faster, basically, be a lot more agile.
Brilliant, amazing. So it sounds like you're having a great time at Very then, and you've obviously been 9 months within the business, but how did you get to where you are today?
Over a long period of time, so I've been doing this stuff for a long time. So I guess I started off as a developer or analyst programmer, actually, as we call it in the days, because we didn't have specialists, we didn't have BAs and testers and different roles. We had people.
I actually just had the same conversation about 2 hours ago with another person in my network, and they were saying I was an analyst programmer. Back then, it was a combined role.
I remember the days of recruiting for analyst programmers.
It's funny, and in some ways it's gone full circle in some ways. We do have specialism around software engineering, test engineering, DevOps engineering in particular, but we've a lot of the stuff I did at Skybeck and Gaming before we really sort of blurred lines and consolidated those roles. So not necessarily having a product owner and a BA and a Scrum Master. You don't need 3 people thrown on each other's toes. Let's kind of collapse some of those roles. Make sure we've got the right people and let them get on with it basically.
Amazing. So you started off, what language did you use to programming?
Oh wow! So stuff that is still used but not much. So things mainframes, big iron things, programming languages like COBOL, things like that. And I did, so I was a software developer, analyst programmer, whatever you want to call it, for probably the first 10 years nearly. A lot of financial services companies I worked with in those days, and then as we got towards the end of the 90s, and I joined KPMG at that point, and that was great because I moved from very hands-on technical roles. I wanted to get more commercial, and that was a great opportunity to do that as a tech consultant. So, and just as at that time, just at the end of the, as we approached the millennium, lots of companies wanted to get on the internet for the first time. They didn't really know how to do it. We're all scared of security, and they didn't really know how to go about doing it. So that's where we came in to really help get startups up and running, or start some of the digital transformations that big established companies were trying to do.
And that was at KPMG?
Yeah.
Was that in Leeds as well?
So my office was in Leeds, but I was never here.
Oh, right, okay.
I was all over the place. And And actually, that's why I left. So despite working on some fantastic things like the launch of Virgin Mobile and lots of great jobs there, at that point I was working in Paris 5 days a week. I got 3 kids back here in Leeds under the age of 2.
I can imagine you weren't very like my wife.
That wasn't working too well for us, as you can imagine. So at that point, I joined FreeServe, and that was a fantastic Leeds-based business.
I remember FreeServe.
So it came out of Planet Online. You might remember before Energis. Local Pete Wilkinson, local entrepreneur, got the whole thing up and running. FreeServe, great idea. Again, Yorkshiremen that kind of came up with the idea, and we had a tech base here in Leeds, and that was early part of this century, and we're doing all sorts of things. It didn't really have names, things that you call social media now, for example. E-commerce was just really starting to take off, and the whole portals business was really growing quickly. So we're doing lots of new stuff, running very fast, breaking things quite often, and working out how to do it as we went, and it's great fun. I learned a huge amount from that. And then over a period of time, that got integrated into Orange. I left. I spent a bit of time at a startup trying to get that going, and then I joined this tiny little company called Skybeck and Gaming, which was based in Harrogate in 2009. And at that point, it was it's a tech team of about 30 people. We're making it was very small. We're making about £5 million a year profit. And what we did, but we got a great leader in Richard Flint, who was the CEO at that point. I joined effectively as Chief Technology Officer there. And we got a lot of ambition to really grow the business. So that's exactly what we did. We moved to Leeds in 2010. From that point, we didn't really look back. The reason we moved to Leeds was all about talent attraction and being able to have that culture that we wanted to be a tech-led business. And that's exactly what happened. So over the next sort of 8 years or so, we went from the 30 tech people to about not far off 1,000.
Snapped up all the Yorkshire talent, didn't you?
I've had loads of people, tech leaders from other businesses, been quite unhappy with me about that, but I think
lots of mucky looks walking down Brigham.
You do what you do, and it's all about to create a tech culture, really. At the end of the day, we had to learn how to do that. As we created about 1,000 tech jobs here in Leeds, which is a great thing for the region, and that's really helped the whole ecosystem. I think we're only part of it. I'm not saying we haven't done that all by ourselves, of course, but it's not just creating new jobs, but it's also creating an ecosystem around that that just didn't really exist that much here 10 years ago. So that was a huge learning experience for me as you scale from 30 to 800-900.
It's amazing.
You've got more and more customers to look after. You've got more and more the traffic on the website, on the app as we moved to mobile in the first case, and just scaling the whole business up was a massive challenge, massive tech challenge, and a massive leadership challenge. And I learned a huge amount through doing that.
I can imagine, and I bet in your wildest dreams, when you were back being ambitious over in Harrogate at an office full of 30 people, did you ever expect to get to where Skybet and Gaming is today?
No, we didn't. And I think one of the things about that is we didn't do that. We didn't think how big do we want to be or how big are we going to be. We just what we did was think about how do we put the customer at the heart of what we're doing, and how do we just make sure that we're doing the best thing for the customers, and the success followed from that mindset.
So
really.
What do you think were the 3 most important skills that kind of got you to that, led you to that point and to where you are now, and obviously a very successful leader within the tech industry?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think without doubt there's a really important thing. You've got to get stuff done. You've got to make things happen. You've got to make important things happen. That can mean anything. It can be landing a big program that you need to do. It can be starting, launching a new country. It can be anything, but you've got to be delivering those big important things, business priorities. So that's first and foremost. You've got to be able to get stuff done. I think there's definitely a thing about adapting and learning as you go, and especially these days, the rate of change is just getting faster and faster. If I think back to when I was doing COBOL mainframe stuff in the late 80s, the rate of change then was just like glacial, really, compared with it's just getting faster and faster. And it's not going to
can't sit
it'll
on
never
laurels
slow down
anymore.
So you've got to all the businesses that have disappeared because they just took their eye off the ball. You've got to make sure that you're on the next one. That means you've got to be constantly learning. You've got to be constantly adapting, and improving what you're doing. So that's really key, that kind of constant learning and moving forward. If I was to pick a third one, what would I pick? What was the question? It's been successful. I think there's definitely something about, it's all about the people side of things. This is probably, should have put this in first to think about it. So, yeah, and I'm not saying, by the way, I'm not saying that I've got all these things right, but people that I see do this, that are great leaders, have these things. So it's about a high degree of EQ. It's about, you've got to be able to build relationships at all levels, because for me, leadership, it's about leading people through change. That adapting thing is the whole world and is moving around us, and there's new risks and new opportunities. We've got to take people, and people don't always want to be led through change. So it's about creating a compelling vision of where you're going. It's about getting people excited about that and getting people comfortable with constantly changing.
It's about taking the people with you through the journey as well, isn't it? And people is everything in any business. Without people and good people, what have you got? You haven't.
100%, yeah, I couldn't agree more. And that's one of the things I've learned over the years. When I went back to the early days when I was kind of head down as a programmer, I didn't worry about stuff like that. I was more interested in solving hard problems, coding problems. Yeah. But leadership is about that, and it's not just your own teams. It's as a CTO, being on the board at the very group, I've got to make sure that I've got really rock solid relationships with the rest of the exec. So they understand. I understand their business, they understand where we're going from a tech point of view, and we're all joined up and on the same page.
Cool. So along the way, I should imagine you've experienced a number of war stories, and you've gained some battle scars that I'm sure our listeners would love to hear about.
Yeah, I've certainly got loads of those. Probably the one that I described as my worst day in the office ever was when I was at Sky Betting and Gaming, actually. And so it was Boxing. I remember it well. It's Boxing Day 2014, and so it should have been the busiest day of the year, or one of the busiest days of the year anyway. There's lots of football on, lots of horse racing, etc. We've been growing really strongly. We've got really good momentum, and so we're all going into it very excited. Lots of offers, promos, etc. And we thought we were in good shape from a tech point of view. We'll get to just before 3 o'clock when football kicks off, and I get the first text saying we've got a problem. And I remember it was Boxing Day. I was at my parents'. Oh, no. We're having Boxing Day dinner. It's like, I'm just going to have to go and stand outside a minute and try and get a signal, actually. But so what happened was we had a massive outage. We were down all afternoon. Literally lost millions of pounds of revenue, and it was all my fault, right? As a CTO, it's entirely my fault. I took responsibility for that. And the reason it happened, it took us quite a while to piece it together. And when we kind of, got a really great team of people at Sky Betting and Gaming digging into it, and what we found out was one specific problem, and it just had this massive cascading effect. So really, it should have impacted just one product. And what happened was it took down the entire business. And that was a massive wake-up call for us. We kind of realised that we've been charging ahead, trying to get new customer stuff out, new product features all the time, and we haven't been taking care of tech debt. And that's, it's just what we had to do at that point was I had to convince the rest of the exec, and it wasn't very hard after what happened. I had to convince them that we're going to just have to stop or pause for a bit on the new stuff, the new shiny stuff. We're going to have to go back and really fix the basics.
Go back to basics.
And there's a whole bunch of things we had to do. Different design patterns so that when one thing fails, it doesn't impact other services and so on. But we had quite a period of time where we had to just go back to basics and fix all that. And it was a big wake up point for us as a business. We realised that you can't just keep doing the new stuff. You've got to get the balance, and you can't have a kind of a knee-jerk reaction, fix the basics and then full speed ahead. It's forever. You've got to be thinking about...
It's about not becoming complacent as well, isn't it?
Yeah, totally. And you've got to stay focused on it. So I think about, when I talk, I think about, this kind of hierarchy of needs. If you imagine a pyramid, at the bottom you've got security, right? So that's got to be front of mind for any tech business. If you're losing customer data, you've got a big problem, right? So you've got to make sure you've got that sorted. After that, I think about stability. Clearly, the products and services just need to work all the time. And then you kind of, as you work up the pyramid, it's velocity, so it's about getting new stuff out really quickly. And then at the peak, it's about proper innovation, disruptive innovation. And you have to work your way up that pyramid. And the goal, for me, as far as I'm concerned, is getting a velocity in the innovation whilst maintaining stability and security. So go fast without breaking things. And that was the sort of thing that we went through as a company that we learned together.
Yeah, I'm sure you learned a lot that day. It must be tough. I'm sure probably
could understand why now you remember the
smile
day.
about it now. I wasn't smiling then.
I can imagine. And it's tough, isn't it? I think because a lot of organisations, and this is a learning curve for a lot of people, they're quite easy to get wrapped up in the innovation and the disruptive technologies, like you say.
It's all new and exciting, isn't it? And
it is, and at the end of the day, you need that. But more important than that, you need things to work, and you need to be looking after your customers' data. You've got to get the basics right.
Definitely, and it sounds like that day you learnt a lot personally. But as a leader, what do you think gave you grit?
There's definitely a thing about resilience. You need resilience because it doesn't always go well. That was a classic example of when it doesn't go well.
It must have been tough. You took the ownership so well, speaking back then, but that's still even now. That must have been such a tough time.
Yeah, it was, and we had a difficult period. A bit of a period. That was the sort of the worst point. I said my worst day in the office, and we had a period after that where we had sort of other outages, not as major as that, but we had a spell of instability, and that was really tough. You needed resilience. First of all, you got to show leadership. You got to be involved in that situation. You got to be there all over it. So I was on conference calls, I was on Slack, kind of all through. I remember one night I got out for dinner in Leeds actually with my wife. It was her birthday. Having a lovely meal, and again it's like, oh my god, what's happening now? So finished the dinner off back home, and I spent literally all night until 4 o'clock in the morning on a call with a bunch of again great tech people from Sky Bet and Gaming, and we were working through the problem together to fix it before it became a problem, and before it became a real problem the following day. And it's that kind of commitment and loyalty that you absolutely need. Yeah, of course. People are so important, aren't they? Get the right team in place. Do you think it was anything like, I guess, in your childhood that gave you to push that for that? I think there is something in that, definitely. I think I you might disagree, but I like to think of myself as a fairly sort of normal, grounded person. Yeah, my background's very, I think of as normal. My dad's, an engineer. Worked hard. My mum, 4 kids to bring up. And she had a job as well. So quite what I think was a normal background. And I think so you kind of get that, and from your grandparents and from your peer group as well at that age. I think that's all part of what formed you. And I think it's important. I got this thing about you need. I kind of need those challenges. I want those challenges. Yeah. I'm not the sort of person who's ever going to just kind of settle and go off and play golf all afternoon. That's not what I'm about. I want those challenges, and that challenge can be about growing a new business. It can be about people challenges. It can be all sorts of things. But that's what keeps me interested in. And it sounds like you've grown a really great team at Very. Obviously, had a really strong team of staff at Sky Bet and Gaming, and you've got a great team over in Liverpool as well. What sort of 3 words do you think that the team would use to describe your leadership style? What I can say on here? Yeah, you in general. I think. Well, I know people. Yes, because one of the really important things about leadership and just generally is feedback loops. If you haven't got those feedback loops, you don't know where you are. And I've learned. This is something again that I've learned from people around me. So people that when I was at Sky Bet, there's a few people that would regularly, they weren't even in technology team, but they regularly come and ask me for feedback on how they were doing, which very few people do that for whatever reason. And if you can actually cut through and make a point of doing that, it's so much better. And I've seen people, the people that I'm thinking of now who did that when they were fairly junior in the career, they'd get that feedback from a group of people. They're now, in really senior positions in Sky Bet again, and there's no coincidence there. Yeah. How do people think? So focused is one, which is a good thing and a bad thing. If you're too far, it can be a bit bad. But I think it's, I think people want that. I think people need. For me, it's about a big part of leadership is making sure you got a sense of direction and making sure you got clarity. And what I mean by that is, as a leader, you don't have to do it all yourself. You just need to make sure these things exist. So it comes back to the kind of team building ethos again, and making sure you've got complementary skills, and that the things that my gaps, my blind spots, I need to make sure I've got people on the team with me who can compensate for that. Yeah. So make sure we've got a clear vision, make sure people understand it, the what and the why. The context is massively important. I've forgotten what your question was now. About how they describe you. Right, so focused, not waffly. Never waffly. Right, so focused. So, I think that's a big part of it, and being clear about what we're doing, where we're going, why we're doing it, etc. The journey is such a big piece, isn't it? Yeah, it is, yeah. So, there's that. I think I touched on it already. I think down to earth and low ego, that's certainly how I like to think of myself.
You're definitely very approachable.
Well, thank you.
I've only known you 5 minutes. And he's already taken the heck out of me for not knowing anything about football as well, guys, by the way.
So I've never actually heard anybody refer to that famous Merseyside football club as Liverpool United.
Well, now everyone knows. Now everyone knows. Oh, well.
Have you had a coach or a mentor or quite interesting?
Yeah, I've had a few along the years. And I think that's a really good point and really important point. And I think there's stuff you can do, you know, as a company or as an individual, you can look for some big sort of scheme, or you can just start stuff. And you know, my first example of a mentor was something that just kind of happened over. It came about as somebody who I was quite junior in my career, and it was a fellow senior manager in the business, and we were just chatting one time, and I just asked him what he thought about it. I didn't wait for some HR scheme to come along and create a mentor program. It's just me saying,
went after it.
What do you think about this? Yeah. And that actually worked really well. I learned quite a bit, and then it led to sort of further progression in my career. So that's the kind of starting point. And then I've done more formal things. So I had an exec coach when I was at Sky Bet, which was really useful. So you know, I kind of got to a certain level in my career. And I think it's true for a lot of people. You have to get through. What got you there isn't necessarily what's going to help you keep progressing in your career.
Yeah.
So
that's very true.
Being the world's best coder will not help me as a CTO in any way whatsoever. It's much more about the other things I've been talking about you know, creating a strategy, vision, direction, leading people through change, getting people on board, all those things.
So, who's your role model?
My role model, I think. The risk of embarrassing anybody, I'd say one person I've really learned a lot from is Richard Flint, who was my boss at Sky Bet.
Yeah.
So all the way through that journey, when we were in Harrogate, it was a tiny team, and I used to share a tiny little office with him at that point. We grew the business together over that sort of 9-year period. He was my boss and CEO of the business throughout that whole period. And the reason that I say that is that I think it's a good role model. It's to think about his characteristics and just the way that he works. So again, very low ego, very non-political, certainly at work. You know, it didn't let politics get in the way of things. It was all about doing the right thing for the customer and obsessing over the customer experience. So we built a really good leadership team around him with complementary skills. But again, we didn't have any big. I've worked at lots of places where you get these big egos, and on the one hand, it's great. It's like everyone knows when such and such is here. But sometimes it can just go too far and stop people working well together. So I think he did that really well, Richard. And he also
big difference on the culture as well.
Well, I was going to say that the culture is a massive thing, and so he really inspired a lot of people to want to join and be part and stay in that business. You know, the tenure of people was much longer. People stayed in Sky Bet Gaming and still do much longer than they do on average. I think you know, there's lots of people who joined the tech team soon after I joined who are still there 8 years later. And it's because of that culture. And Richard was a massive part of that.
Cool, fantastic.
So, what keeps you sane and healthy then with this busy lifestyle, this busy job? You're trekking off to Liverpool during the week. How do you manage the stress of all of this?
I think there's a few things actually. There's some sort of practical stuff which helps. So things like exercise, massively important. So I try and do, I always do a bit of running. I like to do a bit of cycling. Get down gym when I can. I used to do 5-side. That's kind of gone by the wayside a little bit, but so you can get that going.
Reunited.
So stuff like that. I think other important things. Diet. That's really important. What's that? So drinking lots of water.
You're off for a pint later.
Yeah, definitely.
That also does help a little.
No, it does absolutely.
Definitely.
100%.
You need that stress relief.
That's one of the great things about. I talked about the success of Sky Bet in the game, and the thing that really led to that was when we moved from Harrogate to Leeds. Harrogate's a great place, but we weren't even in the centre. It's a bit outside Harrogate. We moved right into central Leeds, and the remit when we looked for a property here, an office here, was no more than 10 minutes from the station. So we wanted to be really central. Yeah. And the reason for that was, yes, to attract talent and make sure that great people stayed with us, but it's also that social thing, so we had things like 5-side pitch right next to the office, so that's a great thing for stress reduction and getting to know people. We had a bar right next to the office as well, so getting to know people over a drink after work, that's all important stuff. It helps keep you sane, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about your legacy then? What do you want to leave behind?
my legacy. So I think it's not, it's not like I want to come up with some amazing invention or I've cured cancer. I mean, of course, that would be amazing, wouldn't it? But that's not going to happen. That's not really the stuff that drives me. It's more personal things. So I think, I think certainly my family and my kids, if they are successful, whatever success means in their minds, then I think, if I've helped them get there, that'd be a big thing. If I've helped people develop themselves in a work context, one of the great things again that I've seen over the years is people coming in and developing themselves, taking on more responsibility and really embracing it and really growing as a result of it, and progressing their career and getting a big sense of satisfaction. That's the sort of stuff that I like. So if I can help people, and I do things like mentoring people and various other things. So if I can help people with that, that'd be a good legacy.
Amazing, perfect. So sounds like you've got a lot on your plate at the moment. You're 9 months in, so things are really exciting. But what are you most excited about this year?
Well, that's a good question. I think from a work point of view, you're talking
In general,
in general. Well, I'll tell you what I'm most excited about from a professional point of view first. So I think it's the journey that we're on at the Very Group. So, it's a great business. It's very, very good business, and we're going to make it a great business. And what I mean by that is we've got this big agile transformation going on. We've got some really interesting tech around the piece. So we just built this new warehouse in the East Midlands, which is going to go live in the next couple of months.
Okay.
It's the biggest of its kind in the UK. It's got automated kind of robotic, AI-driven robots picking stuff off shelves.
Brilliant.
So some really clever technology there, a lot of AI and automation. And I think what I'm excited about is just really driving improvements and really moving the company forward. So being much more agile, being much more customer obsessed. That's all part of it. And then from a personal point of view, I can't wait until July. So we're off to South America. So going to Peru, going to Galapagos, going to Ecuador, and that's just like Machu Picchu and all this. It's going to be Lake Titicaca. It's going to be amazing.
Oh my God! How many weeks have you got off?
3 weeks.
3 weeks.
That's one of my biggest passions, in case you can't tell, travel.
Is that with the whole family?
Yeah, we're all off. Yeah.
How old are the kids now?
So my daughter's 20 and I've got twin boys who are 18.
Oh right, great! Oh my God, you're going to have such a great time then with you together.
Yeah, it's going to be fantastic.
That sounds like a brilliant trip. Amazing.
Very
well,
jealous of that one.
yeah, no, me too. It's making me think I need to get a holiday book. So, thank you so much, Andy, for coming on today. It was great and brilliant to hear all about your story. If listeners do want to get in touch regarding anything you've mentioned today, are they all right to reach out to you on LinkedIn or Twitter?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, absolutely.
Amazing.
And thanks for inviting me. It's been great talking to you.
Brilliant.
Thank you. It's nice to see you again after all these years as well.
Yeah, you too, Sandra.
And we'll let you run off to the pub. Thank you.